Hello, everyone. I had a really good question come into the group, and it's so much easier to answer it on video because I can show you what I'm talking about. So this is a saddle pads main category page of a site that they want to rank for the term saddle pads. Now, instead of talking about on-page and optimization, what I want to talk about is one of the main issues that holds e-commerce sites back. Now, let me backtrack a little bit and tell you what the site owner is seeing and what the issue is of this particular site. Now, this is a main category page. They want it to rank for the term saddle pads. However, what they have ranking are individual product pages. So what's happening is these product pages are not optimized for saddle pads. However, they have a few spots where it is optimized because this particular saddle pad is a saddle pad. And so we're going to talk about saddle pads. But because it's not properly optimized for just the term saddle pads, this, when it shows up a product page ranking, it's showing up on the 4th and 5th page. So this isn't doing them any good. What they want to rank is the main category page, and they put a lot of work into this page. There's a lot of content, there's a lot of headings, there's a lot of overall facts about saddle pads. So let's talk about how we can fix this really quickly. And this is the top issue that I see on most e-commerce sites. So one thing that you want to do, the particular product pages that are ranking for saddle pads, you can go to those individual product pages. And I think there's a handful here, maybe 3 or 4 of the product pages that are ranking for that term. You can go to those individual product pages and put a link back to the original saddle pad category page with the anchor saddle pad. However, you don't want to do that throughout every single product. Otherwise, your anchors will be too heavy with the saddle pad anchor, if that makes any sense. You cannot do saddle pads, and anchor back to that particular category pages hundreds of times and hope that nothing happens, because Google's looking for that type of behavior. So the few product pages that are ranking, you can put a link back to the saddle pad page, the original category page that you want to rank, and that can help. But a lot of times that doesn't clear up the whole situation. Just glancing at this, what I would do really quickly, there's a main category, saddle pads, and then you have all of these subcategories. In particular, this is a subcategory of the main category saddle pad page. So on this page, what I would do is drop in a small description of this particular category of saddle pads. And in that small description on this page, I would link back to the original saddle pads page, because all of your subcategories should be supporting your main category. And you're not always going to link back with only saddle pads. There is probably other keywords that you want to rank for, in particular, maybe brands of saddle pads or particular types of saddle pads. You can see through their headings, there are different types of pads they probably need to rank for. So you're going to put this description for your subcategory so that it can link back to your main category page. All of your subcategories should support your main category. And then I'll take this a little bit further. These are all of your subcategories. You've got mats that are square, mats that are Eurofit. There's some for endurance. There's some for Western. There's all kinds of different types of subcategories. Those subcategories should be supporting your main saddle pads category. So in particular, this particular subcategory does have a description. And right here, you talk about HKM saddle pads. This saddle pads can anchor right back to your main category really easily. Now, let's take this a step further. Now that you've let's say you've set up your subcategories to support your main category, and you're not using one anchor, you're using multiple anchors because I know you have more keywords that you want to rank on that particular page. Now we're going to take it one step further, and the actual product pages are going to support your subcategory page. So now this particular product page is going to support the HKM pads page, and the HKM pads is going to support your main saddle pads category. So what you're doing is you are giving more authority to your subcategories, and your subcategories are giving the authority to your main category page. Because you are interlinking and setting up a structure for Google to follow, Google begins to understand your main most important saddle pads page is this main category that you want to rank for that term. E-commerce sites always have keyword cannibalization. And one of the major issues that I'm always finding is they don't use their products to interlink and support all of their products, if that makes sense. So you have subcategories that are now supporting your main categories, and then you have your subcategories that are also supported with proper anchors so that Google understands this is the HKM category page, and this HKM saddle pad supports the subcategory, and the subcategory of the HKM pads supports the main saddle pads category. Now, interlinking is not the only way to clean up keyword cannibalization, but it's the one thing that I can do quickly without having to rely on backlinks or anything else to sort the structure of the site. Now, if the site doesn't have good internal linking, Google's going to have to determine what it feels the most important page should be instead of you telling Google what the most important page is. So by cleaning up interlinking and actually adding it onto your product pages to support your subcategories to then support your main category, that cleans up keyword cannibalization pretty quickly. However, you're going to have to make sure your product pages are actually being crawled. Sometimes the actual product pages are crawled the least amount of times compared to your main category page. So you want to make sure once you've made the changes, we're then making sure your actual category pages are even being crawled in a timely manner. That's also important before you start making decisions as to whether this is working or not. Secondly, another way to go about this, and I do this on top of what I've just discussed, the interlinking, you can also send backlinks to the saddle pads main page. Just a few, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to send 10, 15, or 20, but like a handful, 3 to 4, 5 links with your saddle pads anchor. Just a few. I'm not saying go crazy and do a whole bunch and get your site into trouble, but you can send a few to emphasize what your most important page is for saddle pads. But before you start sending backlinks, take a look at your backlink profile and make sure you don't already have those type of backlinks, or that your anchors are going to be properly dispersed between all of the anchors that you can use and not overdo one anchor over the other. So by letting Google know with internal linking and external linking, you're letting Google know the most important page. Without the internal linking that I'm talking about, you're leaving it up to Google to decide, and it's picking a product page. Now, on these e-commerce sites, a lot of times the product page has your keyword in the URL, and it's also in the meta title, which poses a problem. So if this particular product page, do you need it to rank for these particular keywords? Do you need saddle pads in the meta title? I don't know, because this isn't my client, but that's some of the discussions I would take a look at. Do they need to rank for this particular keyword, or is this a product page that just doesn't get traffic or doesn't need to get the traffic? That's up to you to decide, because if it doesn't need the traffic, I would remove saddle pads from the meta title for sure and from the URL, but I might keep it in the H1 because that's more for users on the other end. And your end user may need to know that this is a saddle pad, but it's a particular saddle pad, if that makes any sense. So a lot of times on e-commerce sites, you can't just come in and make all of the changes that we would make on a local site, because on an e-commerce site, it doesn't make as much sense. But you don't even have to make those changes that I just discussed, but it is an option if it's available to you. However, just with the internal and external links, you will clear up any issues with cannibalization, because you will have your product pages supporting your subcategories, and then your subcategories supporting your main category page. And that's basically what Google needs to decide what the most important page is. I hope that clears it up. And if you just want to do internal links and not add the backlinks, that's also fine. I'm just giving you a few options, because all of us operate different on different budgets, and there's different things that we can and can't do. So that is how I would tackle this immediately. And because there are already product pages that are confused for the saddle pads term, those in particular, that handful, I would probably just link back to the saddle pads page, because Google already thinks this is a saddle pads important page, but we're telling them, no, that's not it. It's really the main page. But then I would still go through the subcategories and the products so that I was supporting the main products properly. And that will increase your traffic a whole heck of a lot on any e-commerce site. And I hope that clears it up. If there are further questions, just drop them in the comments below, and I will answer them either with a new video or just with a quick comment. And I'll see you guys in the next video.